Welcome to the Offshore Club's fun-filled, fact-filled, fast-paced blockbuster podcast with your host and Offshore Club's expat mom, Alyssa Esquivel, coming to you straight from beautiful Belize, where the sun never sets on the good life at a great price. And now, here's your friend, your expert, and your guide, Alyssa Esquivel.
Well, hey everyone, welcome to the Expat Mom. So excited to be able to just share with you a little bit more about living overseas and what it looks like to have a family overseas. And I decided, the next couple shows, I wanted to introduce you guys to some friends I have who are doing the same thing we're doing. We're raising families. We are outside of our home countries and we love it. So today, I'm not going to share all their story, but I invited a friend of ours, Rachel, to just share about her family and what it looks like for their family to live overseas and the benefits of raising kids outside of our home countries and the experiences that they get because of that. So, Rachel, I'm just going to let you share a little bit about your family and what your guys' experience is in Mexico.
Yeah, we live in Tijuana, Mexico, just over the border. Which is great because if we need to, we can still hit up Trader Joe's or Target on the other side, or Otro Lado as we call it. But we love being here. I have a 10-year-old son named Parker, an 8-year-old daughter named Aviana, and a 6-year-old son named Paxton. So my husband and I, John, have raised our kids here. We're originally from Colorado area, so we did have one child there, and then the other ones have been here, and we've all lived here for about 10 years now. So it's our joy to live in this country. We wouldn't have it any other way. We have no desire actually to ever live in the United States again. Although I do love the US and I'm thankful for my roots there, but this is our home and we love it.
That's one of the things we just talked about for weeks. Go ahead, share.
Oh, no, you go.
I was just saying that's one of the things that I think is so unique about raising kids overseas is you're outside of your home country is you recognize how many beautiful things that your kids get to experience, the things they get to learn by living outside of what we grew up in. And you get both, right? Like our kids love the things that are beautiful about the States too, but being able to let them experience all these other things that are not the norm, if that makes sense. So anyways, yeah. I'm gonna let you share a little bit more about what you guys do and just your guys' experience there.
Yeah, so up until COVID hit, my children attended school at a local school about 5 minutes from our house. So half the day was in English, half the day was in Spanish. They are bilingual, which is awesome. They've never had U.S. history. They're learning Mexican geography and history and all about the presidents here and the judicial system. So it's been really cool, I'm learning with them because as their mother, when I watch them do homework, I'm like, oh, I never knew that about this country. So we do really miss school. It's closed here. Everything's online. I think Mexico is one of the schools or one of the systems countries that hasn't opened schools at all during COVID. There's only a few that haven't tried to go back to school at all. So we miss that. That was a big touch point with us in the community. But the families that are still able to see us, people are also being really strict right now with COVID. Some of them, some aren't. So we're trying to still give our kids the experiences that you get while being rational and taking care of the rules here and the government and all the things that we have to do. So life here is different than if you had interviewed me a year ago. But we love it here still. And we're so thankful for, just the life. The Mexican culture values families and they love children. So when we go to the go-karts or to ride horses on the beach or any of the fun, amazing activities they have here, everyone's just, hi, how are you? Wanting to get to know the kids. And I feel like our kids are so valued here as humans and that Mexicans do a really great job of loving children and valuing even the moms. Oh, you gave birth to these children, you're like a hero. So it's great. This culture is beautiful. It's a wonderful place to raise a family. I think my kids think sometimes a lot more like Mexicans than they do as Americans, which I love. So culturally they have, they've really gotten the piece. But yeah, so it's a beautiful place. My kids like the food. They prefer street carne asada tacos to anything you can get in the States. I can't imagine not being here. We do love it. So.
Yeah. Well, can you guys or can you just share about maybe one of the unique experiences your kids have had? You talked about the idea that they have Mexican culture. Our kids are the same. You know, we're learning about the different districts and Belize and the things they have here. And I think sometimes maybe it'd be good if they learned about U.S. history at some point,
Yeah.
which they will, I'm sure. But,
Yeah.
you know, just the differences, right, of raising your kids someplace else. So maybe just one of those experiences that's really unique that you just are so grateful that they had being raised in Mexico instead of being raised in the States right now.
Yeah, so one of my son's projects was to study the Mexican Bill of Rights, or I don't know exactly what they call it, but they have a rights document that goes over all the rights for children that live in this country. And like I was saying earlier, Mexicans really honor and value their children. So we were studying that every child has a right to a family and a right to an education. And it was just so neat, like doing that school project with my son. Yes, I probably did a little bit of the artwork. It was a presentation. Sometimes I do that. I'm not gonna lie. But just to see like my son, like his eyes opening and learning, like, oh, that's why people treat me like they do here with such love and respect, because children are so valued, you know? So that was fun. Another time, one of my children said, I need to study my math facts. And so I'm like, okay, let me hop on Amazon and I'll order you some flashcards. He's like, no, Mom, like Mexicans don't make they don't buy flashcards. You have to hand make them, you know? So here I am cutting out, hand making my flashcards because he couldn't go to school with Amazon store-bought flashcards. You just don't do that. So things like that has been fun because I felt like I really understood the culture here, and I understand the language, but I know that's not necessarily culture, but I thought, oh, I get it. And then when my kids started school and I joined the WhatsApp group, I don't know if you have that in Belize, but it's like the mom chat is a mile a minute, thousands of things. I'm like, oh my gosh, I do not understand the culture yet. I've learned a lot because of my children and because of the school system here. And for that, I'm so thankful. My language has grown a ton, and then just my ability to see how they think maybe a little bit differently and in beautiful ways. So it's been fun. I can't imagine doing this without kids because I think there's such a window into the world. They get people to want to say hi to you. We've gotten to know so many people through our children, so that's been great because they really bring community wherever they go. That's what I love about kids. So
yeah, well, that's one of the things I think a lot of times people think about moving as a family and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so much harder. And I think they both present their own difficulties. You know, you in some ways, like you experienced all of this in your travels before even having kids, but you get an insight into a culture, into community, into life with other places so much differently when you have kids. And they are kind of like neutral ground, right? Because everything's kids are safe. You're right. They'll talk to kids. They'll engage with your kids on a level they will never engage with you. And then you end up building relationships through your kids. And we found that to be true too.
Yeah,
absolutely. When you think about just your experiences and your circumstances being there, what would be like one of your favorite things about living in Mexico right now?
I guess I would say just the friends that we have here and the life we live on a community that has a big soccer field. So every day after dinner, it's just whatever children are around, adults, teenagers, everyone runs down the soccer field and we play. It's very, very community oriented. I love that about this place. I love that although people are being careful with COVID, they want to see you and they want to invite you in and they want to give you a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or whatever. And just the hospitality here is out of this world. People, if you break down on the side of the road, you are going to get help like instantly, and if something happens to anything, like I know that there's so many people here I can call. I love the way that people take care of each other here. Plus it's just really fun. You might hear mariachi playing at 2 a.m. and sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, I want to sleep. But then I'm like, I love that they're having fun. Like I'm big on celebration and parties, and my kids, for the last 10 years have had a piñata at every single birthday party, and we love the way Mexicans celebrate. And so it's fun because we've gotten to be a part of that too. And like if you have a 1-year-old's birthday party, like the whole entire neighborhood, everyone's invited, everyone comes, everyone celebrates, and it's just a really warm culture. And I love it. So I think it's fun. I think it's fun to be here. We go to the beach almost every day, and the kids are boogie boarding now and learning how to surf. And yeah, it's a great place to raise children. It really is.
It's awesome. So this is totally not what we have chatted about before, but I was thinking of this actually. You guys are in a really unique and a really great position right now where you're actually building your home from the bottom up, and that obviously presents all of its different challenges being in a foreign country. So can you just chat about that experience a little bit and some of the things that have been just freeing in that process as you guys have built this home? I know it's had challenges, but you guys are, building this first time home from the ground up. It's just really exciting. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity to share about that.
Yeah. So like I said, we work with a community or live on a community here that we do home builds for the poor in Tijuana and Ensenada area. So we're committed here. We're living here long term. About 3 years ago, a land opportunity presented itself. So my husband and I and 5 other families bought like a huge plot of land kind of near the campus that we serve at. And we thought, okay, great. We bought the land, it closed, and we're going to start building, no, that's not how it worked. In order to be foreigners that own land, you have to go through a very long bank process that took us almost 2 years. And then there was another year of approving all of our plans. I think people think that in Mexico you could just throw something up, which technically you can, but that's not the law. And of course we want to follow the laws of the country that we love and that we're living in. So everything just has taken so much longer than we thought, but it was really amazing because we broke ground right as the pandemic kind of started. And then we were hearing, all of the cement factories are shutting down, in order to keep people at home, and all these things kind of kept happening. But yet we've still been plugging along. We're maybe 2 months out of living in the house, which is so exciting. So I said 3 years. I really honestly think it's been 4 since the process started. It's not fast, but I love my home. We've got to decide everything, every part of it that we want. We have like a big granny flat in the bottom so that friends and family from all over the world can come. Some of our best friends live in Asia and just different parts of the world. So we're so excited to have a home base where we can really host people and show them all that Mexico has to offer. And our builder speaks English, which is good because, like I said, I speak Spanish, but not like builder word Spanish. So having someone that kind of understands me and, oh wait, I got to change this wall color, all those things has been great. He's been very patient with us, and I'm excited to own land here and have a home here. We really feel like we're supposed to put roots here, and this is our place. So it's pretty exciting.
That's awesome. So if you were going to give any bit of advice to another family looking to move out of the States or move out of North America and move overseas someplace else, what would be like the number one thing you'd tell somebody?
Well, I guess I would just get your non-negotiables for your family. And then from there, just be really flexible. Like there's certain things that I'm not flexible on for my kids that might not necessarily fit everything here. Like my daughter has a sensory disorder and doesn't eat a lot of things, like very, very little things. So I don't put her in those positions where she's going to have to eat something she doesn't want to eat, which may not really fit like here you want to always take what you're offered and things like that. But I've figured out how to explain to them that she's not trying to be rude, but she really physically can't do that. So that's a non-negotiable for me, that my daughter feel okay in her own skin and what's coming near her mouth, I guess. But what she'll take into her mouth as food. That sounded weird. But anyways, but other than that, okay, I'm really flexible. My kids might go to bed a lot later than they would if we lived in the States. My friends are texting oh, it's 7 o'clock, gotta put the kids to bed. That doesn't necessarily work here. People are just eating dinner and then they're going down to the soccer field, and then my daughter has dance until 8 o'clock some nights, and the culture here is a lot later. So I'm fine with that. Just be flexible, be willing to be flexible. But then there's also those things that you have to know your children and know, okay, this child isn't going to do well in school in a second language. So maybe I'll need to homeschool them until they learn the language where we're moving, or things like that. But I think for the most part, if you just embrace the changes, you're going to enjoy them, so much. And then, your kids, what they can handle. Yeah, so my husband and I are luckily on the same page with that, about what we want to push our kids into trying new things, but we also want to be gentle with them and knowing their needs. So sometimes we do have to maybe be a little like, no, we can't do that. But most of the time we just try to go with the flow and enjoy the best of what Mexico has to offer, which is a lot.
So you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier with your kids going to boogie board, and then you mentioned your daughter being in dance. Can you just share a little bit about some of the things that you get to experience with your kids as far as the opportunities for kind of extracurricular stuff?
Yeah, so a lot of our friends' kids have done taekwondo, which we're about to start with my boys. They used to play baseball, but that has closed because of the pandemic. So my daughter was doing dance on Zoom for a while, and now that's in person again. They're wearing their little masks and they have to stay 6 feet apart. But she's getting like very high level dance for her age in Spanish. And it's so great because it's like training her little mind in the language still, but then also giving her like that physical outlet and having friends when she's not attending school right now, which has been so great. And then we do lots of like after school clubs and things like that. My boys have both done soccer club. My daughter's been involved in an outdoor gymnastics thing here. So there's lots of opportunities for that. We're looking at finding a piano tutor. That's our next thing, because we're realizing like the kids haven't had much musical experience. So they're always outside playing and doing sports, which is great. But so trying to figure that. And then also I try to do all of their activities in Spanish, because before when they were in school, they were getting Spanish all day, but now they're homeschooling with me until the schools open up again. So it's like, they do Spanish tutoring, but any clubs or anything they do, I've picked the ones that are fully in Spanish, because I think that's what they need to, I don't want them to forget. Like they're so young, you know, it could really go either way. But my kids are kind of like doing activities 5 days a week, which some might say is overscheduling them, but they always choose them and they don't complain about going. So I think so for now, we're just going to keep rolling with it. And we enjoy getting them outdoors and stuff like that. Then we go, there's a vineyard, bunch of vineyards like an hour south of where we live. It's really fun because, like I said, Mexicans love and value families. So you go to this beautiful winery and you can tour the grapes, and then they have bikes and a playground for the kids, and kids can run around and ride bikes. And so we try to do lots of, like, I guess you would say tourists, but there's also things that, you know, the locals will want to experience too, like different really neat coffee shops on the ocean. And there's always a carnival, like every week. Just a random carnival will pop up in the city, and you can go and ride the rides for like, 50 cents or whatever. So we keep them active because I think it's fun, and it brings them life and understanding of where they're at, and why we're here, is to get to know people and to love people here. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's one of the things, I was talking about this with another friend of ours, is that oftentimes people think like, oh, well, we're not in the States, and so then therefore we're not going to be able to have all these activities our kids are doing. And I mean, the things you just listed are things we would have our kids do in the States. And so for people to realize it's normal, if that makes sense. It's not this like abnormal foreign place. It's crazy. Yes. And just realizing more and more families are going, we want a different experience for our kids. And so I think just realizing for people, like, there is normal opportunities out there, right? That are going to give your kids these great experiences. Well,
kids are kids everywhere. They like the same things everywhere, so
exactly.
Your kids are going to find people to connect to, whether they understand the language right away or not, because they're children, and children just automatically have fun playing, and they all like the same things, doing art and being active. So I think that's what's great about moving with children, is it really does. It gives you that entryway to meet so many people.
Yeah. Well, Rachel, I just want to thank you for your time today and just chatting with me. So good to catch up with you a little bit and just hear about life again. So thanks so much.
So great. All right. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us at the Offshore Club. For more information on the Offshore Club or to contact Alyssa Esquivel, visit www.offshore.club today. www.offshore.club. That's www.offshore.club. See you next time at the Offshore Club.